Hi guys, today I had the pleasure of attending Spencer Matthews' Clean Co event in Park Lane, London. Clean Co meaning clean cocktails. This is a non-alcoholic drink. This is Clean G or Clean Gin, and it's a non-alcoholic crisp dry botanical spirit. They taste amazing. So for those of you who already know Spencer Matthews, he was on a reality television show called Made in Chelsea in the UK. Growing up in my generation at the age of 36, we had icons such as Russell Brand, Amy Winehouse, Paris Hilton, back in the early 2000s, making drinking cool, making being off of the rails cool, where they would stumble out of nightclubs in the early hours of the morning. They would do reckless and crazy and outrageous things, and people would say, how rock and roll. It was celebrated to see people go off the rails. Now, alcohol has touched the lives of all of us in one way or another, but this generation are making a change. We are all becoming far more considerate towards our health and the lifestyle choices that we make. In the past, just as with veganism, it has been very difficult to find menus and establishments that cater to alternate ways of living. So when you go to a pub or a bar or a restaurant, sometimes the only alcohol-free alternatives are tap water or orange juice. And that can be very bland and boring when it comes to celebrating an evening out with your friends for a special occasion. For this reason, there is this niche in the market that is growing at such a rapid rate. When we consider the amount of people who choose to drive instead of drinking on a night out, those who are trying perhaps to have a healthier diet and lifestyle, or simply to wake up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed the morning after the night before, knowing you haven't made any poor decisions because of the influence of alcohol, knowing that you haven't forgotten half the night because you overdrank, knowing that you haven't thrown up in the back of a taxi perhaps. We can all make healthier lifestyle choices, whether we look at the long-term or short-term effects that alcohol has on us as individuals. Now, Spencer gave a really amazing speech at the event, and whilst the audio may be a little bit shaky in places, I will attach the entire thing here because I think it's so important to hear. So at the end of the video here, I will be showing Spencer's speech in full from the event today. Not only did we get to sample the amazing cocktails from Clean Co, but also this wonderful book with lots of recipes about how to celebrate and live a clean lifestyle when it comes to making alcohol-free choices. You do not have to sacrifice taste and luxury and the excitement of having a wonderful evening out, garden party with your friends, or birthday celebrations by knowing that you can drink from the very same menu. Such an incredible idea to make this simple switch to a Clean Co drink, to be able to have the very same drinks as your friends, minus the alcohol, but maintaining the exact same taste. I personally think it's absolutely amazing that bars, restaurants, and establishments around the world can make that switch today. They can take on board a Clean Co drink so that you can go anywhere with confidence, knowing you can ask for a clean alternative to your favorite cocktails and drinks. Let's make this a positive change to the way that we live our lives. Whether we limit our alcohol intake or go teetotal, you will see the many benefits from the very first sip. And so without further ado, I will pass you on to Spencer's speech from today, and I hope that you find it just as informative and inspiring as I did.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. If you can't see the screen, don't worry too much. If you can, it just has some useful information on it. So that is great. Welcome to the Reverie. I hope you're all enjoying your lovely clean cocktails. And for those of you that have expressed an interest in Clean Co, that means the world to us. So thank you very much for being here. I founded Clean Co in 2019 to kind of fix an issue in my own life. I had a shocking relationship with alcohol throughout my late teens and 20s. Oh, that's so much nicer. Who just did that? Lovely. That was nearly as bad as the relationship with alcohol. So I always kind of had jobs that were very social, where a a kind of relationship with alcohol almost felt like a necessity. I was a city trader, a broker. It was completely ordinary and normal to be out kind of drinking alcohol all of the time in order to feel like you were socializing and doing your job in many ways. And it came at a great detriment to my health. I kind of felt like I lost a lot of my drive, and I felt like my kind of young, almost childish, ambitious dreams that so many of us have when we're younger were just kind of falling by the sides, and I was kind of unable to be my normal self. I gained a load of weight. I was kind of deeply unhappy with who I was becoming. I didn't really love my job. Every morning I'd have to get up at kind of 5:30 so I could be at my desk at 6:30. I'd often be on very little sleep. Always have high levels of alcohol kind of flowing through me from the night before. And it was really difficult to find a real purpose. Kind of fast forward a bit, Made in Chelsea comes along, same kind of stuff, lots of filming, and lots of boozing, lots of drinking. And essentially it took meeting an incredible woman who's now my wife, Vogue, to kind of understand that if I carried on down this kind of dark, destructive path, that I may lose her and lose the potential of the life that I kind of wanted to have. And so I went teetotal. This is in 2018. And it completely changed my life, but more so than I ever imagined it could. It was unbelievable. Not only the time that you had that was kind of extra in your day, but the clarity with your mind, the ability to think properly, to fill your time more productively. And I became quite driven, as I always hoped that I would be, and quite productive. And I didn't really, at the time, know exactly what I wanted to do with my life still. Until one night, I'd been sober about 4 months. I went to a dinner party and somebody offered me a non-alcoholic gin and tonic. And I'd never heard of that before. And I was never a huge beer drinker, and non-alcoholic beer was just soaring to the moon. And it was amazing because the product was finally kind of good enough to supply the demand. You know, non-alcoholic beer has been around for 26 years now, I think it is, 28 years. But you wouldn't have known that because the products just weren't very good, and people didn't really warm to the idea of drinking non-alcoholic beer because it didn't fill the void of a beer. And this was similar for me, the experience that I had when I was given this non-alcoholic gin and tonic, because I'd never heard of the idea, but I loved the idea, and I couldn't understand how cocktails were not in a place where they could be made with incredible non-alcoholic alternatives, because they simply just didn't exist. And I tried the product. I didn't love it, what I was given. It was the only product at the time that was out there. It was very botanical, and it didn't really fill the big boots of a gin for me. And I started to wonder why notes of juniper weren't used as an example, and why it wasn't really pretending to be a gin. So I set out with a mission to create the world's first kind of non-alcoholic gin, but like that looks like gin, tastes like gin, smells like gin, and behaves like gin, and isn't its own thing, isn't something else. So started kind of driving relentlessly. This is just me at this stage. Driving relentlessly all over the country. I flew to Ireland. I tried to find a distillery that would be able to try and create something that tasted like gin. And that was really difficult to get to a kind of very low level of alcohol, or an alcohol-free level, or something that actually fills the boots of gin. But anyway, long story short, we created Clean Gin, which was our first product, now known as Clean G. And we kind of took it from there, built a team, and it was just the most incredible journey. Originally, we raised £2 million from a kind of close-knit group of people that I know, but also Lightspeed. That was the most incredible feeling. A woman called Nicole Quinn, who's now a director of Lightspeed, flew over because I had written them a letter, because I'd read in, I think it was the Financial Times or somewhere online, that Lightspeed were looking for products that would bypass the three-tier distribution system in the States, which is a kind of old and very complicated system of getting products or alcoholic products into the hands of consumers. And they were looking for ways kind of around that. And I said, well, if we created a non-alcoholic spirit, would that need to go through three-tier? And we had a meeting, and by the end of the meeting, Nicole pledged to put £1 million into CleanCo, and it was basically like we had a rough product and not much else to go by. And at the time, I only needed 400 grand to finish the round. And she kind of looked at me and she was just like, if we're offering you $1 million, you take the $1 million. I was like, okay. I didn't really know how these things work. So anyway, so I took the $1 million and kind of off we went. 8 months later, we raised a further $7 million at a much higher valuation. And we were kind of off to the races. We were a really exciting, young startup in a space that was completely unknown. And at the time that we launched, COVID had just come, and we were all in lockdown. So Vogue and I were kind of mixing drinks and making cocktails in our living room, asking people what they would want to see from the company's development, what flavor profiles they would prefer. So we were literally including our customers in the kind of thought process and the development of brands, which was kind of cool and felt different. And we gained kind of 50, 60,000 followers almost immediately, and had a bit of a leg up, I suppose, in the space compared to our competition. And it was amazing. We always wanted to look at things as a bit differently. Ordinarily, if you're building a spirits brand, you would go to restaurants and bars, and you would gain listings there before going into retail, before kind of gaining fame from doing well in the on-trade. We always had an off-trade strategy, so we always wanted to go to kind of retail first, mass. We want to be the biggest and best non-alcoholic spirits brand in the world. If you are considering drinking an alternative to an alcoholic cocktail, we want to be front and center, the only choice for people, the leading independent brand in the world. And I'm very proud to say that actually in the markets that we are in, so on a global scale, CleanCo has now become the leading independent non-alcoholic spirits brand in the world. So here's a bit of a timeline. So yeah, the launch in 2019. Sainsbury's came on board quite early on. I remember the meeting actually in Sainsbury's. It was perfectly bizarre. I went in with James Shilcock, who's now our general manager for the whole group. He was head of sales at the time, and we were pitching it in to Sainsbury's. And at the time, they only had Seedlip because it was the only other option. And she said something to me like, do you think just because you're on television that we're going to stock your product? And I was like, thought hadn't even crossed my mind, to be honest. And she basically continued to say that it was kind of average and it wasn't really for them. And I was like, oh, okay, no worries. And then the day later, we got told that we were going into something like 600 stores. I think she was just having a bit of fun with me, but it certainly worked. I came out of the meeting and said, I'm not going to go to those anymore. But anyway, so 2020 was an incredible year. Just gaining retail distribution like that for a young brand is, particularly in a very unknown market, is pretty rare. And we followed on with kind of Tesco's, Morrison's, Ocado, and all other major retailers in the UK in the subsequent years. 2021, this was quite something actually. So when we were raising our Series B, which is our kind of big swanky raise, we were looking to raise. This was our 7 million raise. Ursula Burns. Ursula Burns is the first black woman to ever CEO a Fortune 500 company. She ran Xerox and came from literally nothing. I don't know if any of you listen to Big Fish, but I have a podcast where I interview incredible entrepreneurs and other fascinating people. And there's an episode with Ursula Burns, which I'd encourage you to listen to. She's just phenomenal, like unbelievable. And I knew nothing about her. And she lives in the same building as me. She has the penthouse. And I'd never thought to question who she was. But one day she was carrying groceries in. I could see she was struggling a bit, so I kind of went downstairs to help her with her bags. Went into her penthouse. It kind of looked like this place, and I was just like, Jesus, like, who is this woman? Googled her, and it turns out she was on the board of Diageo and Amex and Uber and all this, incredible stuff that you just don't see every day. And I said, can I bring some of my products around? I'd love your opinion on where we're heading and how we should get there. She invested £2 million into that round and now serves as chair of the company. And she is, as I say, she's the most remarkable woman. She kind of opened the doors to the States. She introduced us to Jim Clerkin, who now sits on our board. He was the ex-CEO of Moet Hennessy. He was the youngest CEO of Guinness, age 28, Irish fellow. And we're now in kind of Walmart and a bunch of other major US retailers and enjoy a fantastic relationship with Southern Glazers, who are the largest distribution company in the States. I believe they do $63 million of turnover a day or something like that. Enormous. That's not Cleanco turnover, mind you. One day, hopefully. But no, we're not quite there yet. We're still a relatively small cog in a rather large alcoholic machine in the States. So after the success of Clean Gin, we should call it Clean G, got into lots of trouble calling it gin, because it's not gin, of course. Gin has to be 37.5% alcohol proof, with predominance of juniper, which of course we have the predominance of juniper, but we are not alcoholic, so we cannot call it gin. So it is G. And we wanted, the idea came to really have a range and try the portfolio play, because as great as the single product was going, wouldn't it be fun to be able to create any cocktail, for people, not just gin and tonics, not just gin-based cocktails. I was always a margarita lover myself, love the Paloma, tequila in general, whiskey drinker when in Scotland, or, I'd drink whatever I could get my hands on, to be honest. We wanted a nice, interesting range. So we added a flavoured gin, a rhubarb flavoured gin, a rum, a tequila, a vodka, and a whiskey. And we're one of the most award-winning brands on the market, with 99 points at the IWSC Awards, which is absolutely great. We've got great taste awards, we've got all kinds of awards. I hope you're enjoying your cocktails. I think you'll understand why the products are so good. I understood quite early on that this was going to be quite a niche category, in the sense that to order a non-alcoholic beer, you have the ability to call it a beer, right? So it's an easy thing to ask for. Like a Heineken Zero is clearly just a non-alcoholic version of Heineken, right? You have these big brands that are able to lean on their heritage and their brand in order to be recognized easily in the space, which we, of course, don't have. We call ourselves Clean because I think it's the best possible way to describe what we do. It's not boring, and it's what most people want from their lives, I think. I feel a real sense that people love to live clean, and they love to drink less now. I mean, it's very rare that you see very inebriated people out and about during the day, even on weekends. Like, it's people are very health conscious now, as we always have been with our brand. And I knew that we needed an interesting way to order the drinks, right? So instead of having a brand name that you would need to recognize in this small space, so coming up to the bar and saying, can I have a, whatever the brand might be, and tonic, we wanted to be able to just eliminate that and just go straight to the drink. So like, if you want a margarita, it's a clean margarita, a clean old fashioned, a clean gin and tonic, a clean vodka soda, a clean cosmopolitan. You actually don't even need to know who we are to order the drink, right? So non-alcoholic is negative. Mocktail sounds like a joke. Clean is positive. And it seems a good idea to me to be ordering clean drinks. So when I was sober for the first time, and I would go out and I would order non-alcoholic drinks, you almost sound like more of an alcoholic. You go to the bar, it's like, I'd like a non-alcoholic beer. It's like, well, why are you drinking? Like, and you're always like, have you got a problem? It's just like, I'm just trying to make a nice health-conscious decision. A clean cocktail to me is a more interesting hook than a non-alcoholic cocktail. And so we were kind of hoping, and still hope, to be the kind of Hoover of the category, I suppose, for clean drinks to become a thing. For other brands to call themselves, a clean drink would be great. We feel it's a more positive approach to better decisions made around alcohol. And it's great the products are finally at a stage where they're good enough, like beer, to be consumed on a mass scale and to keep people happy and coming back. It's kind of like, it's a gap bridge between desire and compromise. If what you really desire is a gin and tonic, but the compromise is to drink a Diet Coke. That's a huge compromise. And if you take the case of, let's call it veganism, right? Like before vegan food got to the place where it is now, where you can have, a Beyond Meat burger and actually be quite good, and it fills the void of a kind of cheeseburger if you're looking for a vegan option. We had nut roasts and Quorn and all kinds of stuff before that didn't quite do the trick, right? So now that we're here at the Beyond Meat, the Impossible Meat phase of non-alcoholic drinking, we're at a stage where it feels popular enough. Like if we had tried to throw this event 5 years ago, good luck. I just don't think anyone would have cared. Do you know what I mean? But I think people get it now, and we're at the stage where we feel that we can make any alcoholic drink on any menu clean by just saying make it clean. We have a lot of listings where the menu doesn't even need to reinvent their menu, right? So it's kind of like if you go to say Hakkasan, where we're listed. Hakkasan have a very famous cocktail list already, and now they just have the Cleanco star with make it clean, after cocktails that are famous, as well as having some incredible other clean cocktails that have been created specifically for us. But any cocktail you like, you can just make it clean. And our ethos is for moderation for the nation. We're not a teetotal brand. We're not suggesting you should never drink alcohol. It's a huge mountain for people to climb. I get a lot of direct messages, a lot of emails from people saying, I've got this terrible relationship with alcohol. How do you do it? How do you, stop drinking? And for me, I think when you set yourself too big a task, or say like, I'm never going to drink again, or I'm not going to drink again for 5 years, you're very likely to disappoint yourself and to break your own rules. So if you're able to moderate your alcohol intake by using exceptional products that do the deal of an alcoholic drink, so you're not even changing your behavior. Yeah. You're behaving in exactly the same way. You're literally just replacing one product with another, and it shouldn't feel like a compromise then. It's a bad example because vaping's obviously really shit for you. But it's kind of like we're sort of like the vape to the cigarette, I suppose, but in a very healthy way. What's next on the agenda, George? Sorry, NHS, yes indeed. The NHS have come knocking. They haven't really. The NHS have approved us to be a partner in a new advertising campaign of theirs to make the nation a bit healthier when it comes to booze. It's estimated that 20% of British adults who consume alcohol consume more than the recommended dose. Those figures always surprise me. I would assume that it was far higher than that. But we are their brand of choice for this particular campaign when it comes to an alternative. So the NHS have recognised Cleanco as the go-to brand for alternatives to full alcoholic spirits, which of course we're very proud of. Let me introduce you to Guy, who's going to take you through some of the more technical stuff and the numbers. But again, thanks so much for coming.
Amazing.
Hi everyone, I'm Guy. So just a very quick intro. I've worked at Cleanco now for nearly coming up to 3 years. My job's a little bit more looking at the data, so I very much look at what are the trends and basically help retailers, bars get Cleanco on the shelf so that people like you can go into the restaurants, bars and have a lovely clean cocktail going forward. So yeah, I think first thing, absolutely amazing. If we were going to do a day like this 5 years ago, it would have been absurd. I think we can all agree, one of the most iconic sort of bars in London, World Cocktail Day, and to have a non-alcoholic brand really front and centre is absolutely amazing. But what's really been driving that is a changing drinking habits across the country. So sure, many of you in this room, are moderating your alcohol, but it's actually nearly 3 in 4 adults in the UK now actively looking to try and cut down on their alcohol consumption. So huge trend where even going back a few years, this was at 30%. Now nearly 3/4 of adults are realising that they want to moderate their alcohol to some level. Secondly, this has really been driven by younger generations. Fortunately, I no longer fall in the 18 to 24-year-old bracket, but looking around the room, I'm sure that some of you do. But actually, 44% now of 18 to 24-year-olds say that they drink non-alcoholic products on a regular basis. So it's really becoming ingrained for those younger generations. and really driving this forward. And then finally, I think huge impressive numbers there. £350 million of sales last year of non-alcoholic products as well. So huge opportunities to grow. I mean, total alcohol sales are about £30 billion annually, so you can kind of see the size of the opportunity. But again, if we went back 10 years, that's probably £35 million, so sort of tenfold increase over the last decade. So really a trend sort of kicking off. I guess with World Cocktail Day, it's really important to talk about non-alcoholic spirits, the category that we play in. You know, it's been hugely important, and the rest of the CleanCo staff are kind of sitting over there as well and driving this category forward. But actually, what we've seen since 2020 is that non-alcoholic spirits have grown 220%. So absolutely massive growth for a category. Last year, 8.7 million adults tried non-alcoholic spirits for the first time. Don't know if we have anyone trying them for the first time today, but hopefully that number will be even bigger next year. So huge amounts of people coming in trying the category. But in terms of where the opportunity sits is actually at the moment, in terms of total alcohol or total spirit sales, less than 1% of them are still non-alcohol. Huge opportunity. We know people are moderating. We know that more and more people are trying. But for us as a company, I know Spencer probably wants to be a multi-billionaire, and that's where we all want to be eventually. Right. But it's very much trying to drive that less than 1% to 5%, 10%, 20% over the next few years. And that's very much our mission at CleanCo. So why, for those of you, if there is anyone here, works in the on-premise, owns bars, restaurants, why should you back this trend? Hopefully, some of the numbers I've already shown kind of talk about the growth of this area. But in terms of what it's really going to do, it's going to drive three key metrics for bars, restaurants. Firstly, drive footfall. Nearly 1 in 6 visits to the on-trade, so to bars and restaurants, the location is decided by the non-drinker. Because they want to go somewhere where they can have options, where there is choice, where it's not just alcohol is the sort of the main and the go-to option. Secondly, it extends the dwell time. So when people are there, people want to switch between alcohol and non-alcoholic. So by giving the options, meaning people don't have to, go into water, go somewhere else, have a non-alcoholic option, you're going to have people stay longer in the venue. And then finally, it's about increasing spend as well. If you're not drinking alcohol, typically the option is, being to go for water, for a soft drink. If you're a bar, restaurant owner, you can offer these incredible drinks. Typically they do command a price premium because there's a huge craft and effort that's gone into them. You're able to, instead of someone having free water or a tap or a Coca-Cola, you're able to not only give them a better experience, you're also able to drive more cash into your tills as well. And what we forecast at the moment is over the next few years, there's a £16 million opportunity within the on-premise to really trade up customers and drive these non-alcoholic cocktails home. And then just kind of finishing up on how do we see this being unlocked. I think, as Spencer mentioned, let's make it clean. This is what we really want to be pushing, Whenever you go into a bar, restaurant, there's that option to make it clean. We know actually with our list of products that the 10 most popular cocktails in the world can all be recreated with CleanCo products. So we want to be that solution that bartenders, they have a lovely bit on their menu, make it clean. Mojito, you want it clean, easy, clean run in there. And all those solutions there. Secondly, very much making it easy. We know that if it's not on the menu or it's not on a website before people go, people might not turn up there in the first place to order it. If it's not on the menu, people might default soft drinks, water as well. It's really important to get that on the menu. And then finally, it's all about staff power as well. So again, if you work in a restaurant and a bar, 65% of people are happy to be traded up from a water if there's a recommendation, and get behind that and really sort of push it to go, look, you could have water, or you could have amazing CleanCo, non-alcoholic margarita, which is going to taste 10 times better. And it's really going to let you be part of the experience as well. So yeah, that was a little bit of me just to kind of give some of the data and the insight behind it and where we see this trend going over the next few years. I think we've got a bit of a question and answer to finish the last question.
Thanks, We didn't mean to match.
I put my sunglasses on
Just in case. If anybody has any questions at all, yes. Hello, yes.
Hiya, I'm Kirsten, that's my mic number. I'm an OG. I've been going since 2008. Anyway, were you an alcoholic? Would you say you were an alcoholic?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I don't really, as far as drinking alcohol feels like a problem and could be affecting other people, then yeah. But it's kind of, I think it's a strange term that's misused quite a lot, and I think I think that particular term can prevent people getting the help that they might need, because I think it's quite a dirty word, and it makes people feel, you think of an alcoholic, you think of somebody kind of like lying on the park bench, I suppose, which is a bit of a shame. I certainly had issues with alcohol, for sure. I lost elements of control when it came to drinking. It kind of took over a part of my life when I wish it hadn't. I'm now able to drink alcohol, very kind of like at times that I deem appropriate.
How do you moderate it now? How do you make some stop?
Well, I moderate. I drink Cleanco, but also I no longer have a drink and feel like it's a problem. So like, I think I have levels of responsibility now that fill my time differently to back when I used to abuse alcohol. I have 3 children. I work a lot. I have 3 podcasts. I'm very involved in this business. So it's kind of like the time to go and get hammered and spend the morning in bed is not a possibility for me. I'm also training at the moment for 30 marathons in 30 days in the desert, which will be a world record if successful. We're trying to raise £1 million for charity. So it's been a natural progression for me with alcohol on a personal level. If I feel like a glass of champagne, a glass of wine, I'll have one. It's not very often that I feel that way. Alcohol doesn't play a big part in my life. But it certainly no longer feels problematic. And as for the word alcoholic, on paper, sure, I don't feel like an alcoholic.
Do you think, this is slightly controversial, that the younger generation are drinking less because they're smoking more dope?
I couldn't possibly account for their dope smoking. I think the younger generation are drinking less because they live a more online social life. And I think that that most of what young people do is publicised now online, whereas it wasn't for us. So rolling out of raffles at 4 a.m. hammered used to be cool, whereas now it probably wouldn't feel so cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think if I had Instagram back when I was a very serious drinker, I probably wouldn't have been uploading much. Because you feel like there was an element of shame to my drinking. There's an element of loneliness to it. It's not your best foot that you want to put forward, right? So it's I think social media is geared towards trying to show your best self. So it's probably why people don't post so much of them getting drunk. I mean, people do, of course, but I think the younger generation are more looking for experiences, stuff they can remember, stuff they can share online. And getting drunk kind of plays less of a role in that, I think. It's not to say that young people don't drink. I'm sure they'll continue to drink, but I think times are changing, and that's a great thing for us as a brand, but also happy, as a father, to see those trends coming into play. I think people drink less in general. People are more aware of the detrimental effects of alcohol because they have better access to information now as well through podcasts and other things. And so, it's just generally more accepted. I think that alcohol is probably more damaging than was previously thought about, maybe. Yes, then.
Do you think now that you've done so well with the spirits that you'd think about introducing your own mixers so that we've got everything made from the one place?
Going up against Fever Tree?
Yeah.
I think at the moment our plate's pretty full with the mission that we have. But it's a great idea. Of course that would be awesome. But I think Fever Tree and other big brands do a very, very good job of that. So to kind of attempt to steal market share from them whilst also trying to grow this business would be a difficult task. But currently, I think it's always tempting as a founder to broaden out and do more to try and raise that kind of bottom line, to try and turn over as much as possible in a year. But you can quite easily lose focus doing that. I've learned a lot as an entrepreneur in the last few years that kind of focusing on less but more important things is a very important part of growing a business, because the kind of spray pray cats is a sure way to fail essentially when you're small. But no, it would be awesome to own Fever Tree. but we're not there yet. Yes, thank you.
So you've got 5 different variations. So can I just understand, because obviously we're drinking any cocktails, we're not drinking them neat, which I would like to do actually. So ordinarily, any gin is vodka with botanicals.
Yeah.
So what is your base, and then are you using different botanicals to create the different flavour spectrums? How is it working?
Yeah, so we extract different flavours from an array of different botanicals and then blends to create a kind of final product.
What's your base?
Should we ask Ade, who creates the products? Ade, what is our base?
Yeah, because you think about, gin is a vodka with botanicals,
Our-
pure alcohol. And
Yeah, so we aim to please in terms of a flavour profile that most mimics the spirit that we're aiming to replicate. Ade
what's your
here.
base? What's the base of it?
So if you go back a little bit, so if you want to make your gin, so gin is a very simple process. You have your neutral spirit,
Yeah.
you chuck in some junipers and
Yeah, yeah,
botanicals and you distill it. Now, we do slightly different way of extracting, right? So we extract through different processes of like maceration, infusion, colonization. Now what we get is concentrates of these flavors.
Yes.
So you think of your juniper flavor, it gets concentrated like 1,000 times concentrated. Now that distillate is what, which is a distillate, is what we now blend together to get our final liquid. So majority of what you have in liquid is 90% water, but with a lot of
So
concentrate.
it's a water base with the concentrate.
Well, we've not started with water.
Sorry?
We've diluted the concentrate
Yes.
from our distillation with water.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's a base of water with the ingredients. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Well, simply yes.
Yes.
But
In very simple terms. I know it's more
yes, simply yes,
complicated.
but no. because then it makes it feel like it's water that's like the starting point.
No,
But that's not the starting point.
No, the starting point is the distillation. I
Yes,
understand.
exactly.
But it's like a perfume. You have to put it in something.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfume
Then
is
you get
set
to the
in
final.
alcohol. Gin is set in a raw alcohol.
Absolutely.
Vodka is a raw alcohol. So I'm trying to understand. Because are you low alcohol or alcohol free? There's a difference. Can you just clarify?
We're currently non-alcoholic, and we're moving to. Well, are we alright to? Yeah, so we're currently non-alcoholic, which means that we're less than 0.5%.
Yeah.
There are 0.0 alcohol-free range arriving soon.
Right. And does the point come from the distillation process, because that's a chemical reaction? So you have a level of. Right.
0.4 helps a lot with the mouthfeel. So
Right.
when you take one of our products and if we gave you a full strength gin and tonic and a non-alcoholic gin and tonic, we're trying to create not only the taste but the feel. So
Yes.
the 0.004 helps with the feel.
Totally.
But
Yeah.
that's the same amount of alcohol as you get in a banana or a
Yeah,
salad.
no,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
When you try the new 0.0 gin, I don't think you'll be able to tell the difference.
And then just in regards to the fact that you have these flavours, can you drink it as a shot?
I think you'd be disappointed if you drank it as a shot, to be honest. No, but well, just because I don't think that the market in general is there yet. So kind of spirits, like a full strength spirit shot is typically 40% ABV. If you lose the 40%, you know it's not going to be the same. We hope at some stage, in the coming, we have always treated the process of creating a liquid a little bit like a tech company. So like we get 99% gold medal in something. The first thing we do is how can we make it better? And we always have done that. So if you take the very first clean gin product that we had in 2019 and the clean gin 0.0 that we're launching now, you wouldn't even know that they were the same company. It's a totally different deal. And just as the 0.0 clean gin that we're releasing now, in a few years' time, I'm hoping that you can take a shot of whatever we create in 5 years' time and believe it to be full strength alcohol. It's just the market across the board is not there technically yet. So
Can you add a mezcal in, please?
we'll give it a go. Ade's brief was these must taste like their full strength equivalent mixed in a cocktail, not neat. So it would be a different deal. So were you to have a shot of clean G, I don't think you'd be drinking neat gin on its own, would you anyway?
Yeah,
Yeah, that would make, yeah, but it ways to have a shot of our clean stuff, you know, without that it would be not the point of the brand for now. These are designed to be mixed in a cocktail form, and they are there to give you an experience of enjoying an adult alternative to an alcoholic drink, you know, as you're drinking now.
But we got time for one more.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Spencer. Alex from Soaps It's me.
Hello, sir.
When you launched the first one, I think it was 1.2, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, and so is it now what, 0.5?
It's now below 0.5, and we are going to 0.0.
Okay, brilliant. And was that just because of pushback you were saying what you had to get into the non-alcoholic space?
The 1.2, I was unable to make it taste any good any lower. You know, at 1.2, there was an alcohol tax element to it at the time, I think, as well. But the idea was always to arrive at a 0.0. The 1.2% essentially. God, I remember the first ever marketing of it. It was something like you had to have 31 of these for it to be a gin and tonic. So we called it ultra low alcohol. We just created a category and called it ultra low alcohol, which we got a slap in the wrist for as well. We threw a lot of stuff at the wall actually, and just broke things and broke rules, and as you kind of read about when with entrepreneurs. But we were just trying to create something new and different. But the 1.2 was a very difficult thing to market. We were trying desperately to explain it. So we knew ultimately that we needed to move out of ultra low into non-alcohol free, even if possible. But delighted to say, yeah, as I say, the latest gin, the 0.0, I tried it for the first time the other day, and it blew my head off.
Does that mean for like Middle East that market?
That would open the options of those markets. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry, one more. The young lady.
That was my question. Are you going into, or are you already into the Middle East market and further east?
So we, without sounding kind of arrogant, we aim to win in the markets that we're in. So instead of, I mentioned this growing of the bottom line and just trying to do as much turnover as possible, it would be quite straightforward for us to just ship countless crates of this all over the world, to open up a bunch of JVs and to be in 100 markets. The problem with that is we would not be able to give it the attention it deserves and requires to sell the product through. We're not alcoholic, so our products do go off. We've got like an 18-month shelf life, 24-month shelf life, of course, as of just now. And 24-month shelf life, which is great. And essentially, it means, though, that you do have to sell the product through. It's not the same as sending a case of gin somewhere. You can sell it in 5 years' time. We are keen to win here in the UK, win in the US. But as far as I'm concerned, the Middle East is a very exciting and interesting market. I've done some work recently there on other projects, and it's very clear that there is great opportunity there. So we would love to be involved. We just want to make sure that when we do that, we have the funds to support it, and the team and the time to give it the attention it deserves for us to be the leader in the category.
Amazing. Amazing.
Thanks.